right, welcome back to the Saturday Morning Nerd Show, and it's a very special Saturday Morning Nerd Show. We are about to announce the winners of the 2018 Nerd Oscars. And with me, as always, is Brendan Smith.
Good morning, everybody.
And, of course, back with us again is Miss Julie Jones, who will put me in my place later in the show.
Oh, it's going to happen.
Uh-huh.
It's going to happen.
There's a long line of women that want to do that. Yeah. And back with us, all the way from Connecticut, is Alex Moore, who couldn't miss out on the Nerd Oscars. So
no greetings.
We got
the East Coast.
There we go. We have a full crew with us today, and we're going to get to the Nerd Oscars in about 20 minutes. But before we do that, we got to tell you a little bit about what's going on in the nerd universe. So, the very first thing, in case anybody didn't know, is Avengers Infinity War got moved up with its release date. So instead of it being released on May 4th, it is actually going to be released at the end of April, April 27th. So 1 week closer to getting to see this, what's going to probably be the greatest superhero movie this year. And 6 years in the waiting since we went to go see the first Avengers movie. So, I'm excited about this for two reasons. One, again, it's 1 week closer, and two, the release date doesn't interfere with us covering the Dallas Film Festival, so we can actually enjoy going and see it on a Thursday night. That was the one thing I was upset about, is because opening night of that film festival, which we've been covering for years, was the night we would go see Avengers Infinity War. So, yay, now we don't have to worry about that. Big staff outing, retreat, anyway.
And Disney gets an extra weeks of profits before Deadpool drops.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so.
You got to cash in on that Black Panther money.
Yep.
And we're very much looking forward to Deadpool, which is May 18th. All right, what else is going on? Oh, yes. So it looks like, in case anybody didn't know, Jason Momoa was cast as the new Crow for the Crow reboot that's been in development hell for years now. I think eventually, at first they had Bradley Cooper, and then there was Luke Evans, and now Jason Momoa. But they finally did set a release date, and it will be October of 2019. So, which, by the way, is very interesting because it will be the official 25th anniversary of the release of the first one. So there you go.
And the death of Brandon Lee, so sad.
Yeah. You know what? I got to admit, I'm very intrigued by Jason Momoa being the Crow. I don't hate this idea. I'm not saying I'm going to enjoy this film because the original one was so great, mostly because of the soundtrack. But
yeah,
I don't know. This could actually work. So, also, in case most people didn't know this. Yes, Warner Brothers is doing a new $6 million, actually $6 billion Man movie with Mark Wahlberg, and this has been going around for. This has been ridiculous in trying to get a release date. We keep seeing it as a pending movie that we're going to review. We've on our list. We've seen that for about a year now. But anyway, they finally announced a release date, and it will come out on May 31st, 2019. So there you go. I guess
this has terrible movie written all over it.
Yeah,
I don't
agree,
see anything good coming out of this at all.
No.
Like, I'm really shocked it's not a February release. Like, because when they delay it that much, usually it's like, we'll just drop it in February and hope nobody notices.
Right. Or August, like The Dark Tower.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, God, I just have no desire to do that. I mean, I know they tried to redo the $6 Million Woman series about 10 years ago, which really wasn't
that lasted
that bad.
45 seconds?
Yeah,
it wasn't, but nobody was interested.
No, but I liked Katie Sackhoff was in it as the crazy bionic woman, and in the midst of between seasons of Battlestar Galactica at the time, and I was like, that's kind of cool. So anyway. There you go. 2019, we'll finally get to see it. And they also announced that, again, they're doing a reboot of Logan's Run, which I'm not unhappy with because after 40 years, I do think it's time. So we'll see what happens. But attached to direct it is the Dark Phoenix director, Simon Kinberg. And it's also being written by who penned the Hunger Games screenplay, Peter Craig. So now we're moving right along with that, and we'll see what happens. Well, but I will say, though, if you don't have the red flashy things in the hands, then there's no point in remaking this movie. I'm sorry. So, and you should shoot it in a mall in Fort Worth, Texas, like the other one, just for the nostalgia. And let's see. There's a Netflix superhero film called Past Midnight, which I don't remember hearing anything about until now, but it will be starring Keanu Reeves. Yeah, I think Netflix likes. Yeah, I am too. I just Netflix has these like secret projects, and then just all of a sudden when they announce it, oh, here's a trailer. We've been secretly filming this, but.
Yeah, and I actually like the way they do that, though.
Me too.
Right. Well, from a news standpoint, it kind of sucks because we'd like to know more about it, but it is cool to accompany a trailer with your press release. So, anyway, this is basically what it is. The concept for Vigilante Superhero is, it's not the most original one. As says in the press release, where is the description? Come on, what is I guess there isn't going to be a description of this. Anyway, it's along the lines of, I guess, as the Punisher, how he takes.
So John Wick is the Punisher? I'm
sold. Yeah, I know. Give me a beer. Let's do this. So, yeah. Anyway, there's
as long
not
as they
really
don't show the puppy scene, that's fine by me.
Yeah, that's basically it. Rick Fuiwa, who did Dope, he'll be directing the movie. So anyway, and it's set to, I guess it's set to come out in 2019. That's what they're saying. So, but anyway, Keanu Reeves, Vigilante, superhero. There you go.
All right.
We'll see what happens. Also, Disney has set a bunch of new releases this week. Starting with coming up with their live action movies, and they did say that Mulan, which was the next one, I guess scheduled, it will actually get a March 27th, 2020 release. So there you go. And
that might be the one Disney movie that makes the most sense to do live action.
And I gotta tell you, if Ming-Na Wen is not in there somehow, I just screw you. I know that she's in her 50s.
Her or Zhang Ziyi?
She
do what?
She's actually in her 50s. She just looks like she's in her 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a chance to meet her at the Marvelous convention last year, and God, she is still gorgeous. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, they said that they also have a bunch of new Marvel movies. It's starting in November 2019 all the way February 2020, May 2020. So they're announcing that they have dates for a lot of these movies and live actions. But anyway, so I guess between Disney live action movies and, of course, Marvel movies, we're going to be pretty good through 2023. So there you go.
And don't forget the yearly Star Wars movie that'll be coming out.
Exactly. Disney, how we rule the world. Okay. Also announced, it was announced this week that Bryan Cranston will be cast in Disney's The One and Only Ivan, along with Angelina Jolie. And I honestly don't know much about this story, but anyway, Cranston will play the owner of the mall, a man who abuses his animals as he forces them to act for customers. And of course, Jolie will voice Stella the elephant, while Oscar-nominated Sam Rockwell has been cast as Ivan. So, Sam Rockwell, Bryan Cranston, sold, done. I'm there. Anyway, although I'm probably not going to appreciate Bryan Cranston, and torture-like animal type stuff, but get out your inner Eisenberg, I guess.
Exactly.
Right. M. Night Shyamalan will be producing a thriller series for Apple TV. It's called The Village 2. No, I'm just kidding. It's not.
I almost threw up when you said that.
Yeah, but now there's going to be rumors. Oh, my God. They don't live in a forest preserve anymore. They live in Colonial Town and churn their own butter.
The Village 2
anyway,
is the Amish story.
God. Oh, Lord have mercy. We're terrible people. But anyway, he'll be working with Apple.
Like the Amish are going to hear it.
Well, maybe those kids. What do they call it when they get to
Rumspringa?
The Rumspringa.
Yeah, Rumspringa. Thank you. When they actually get to, get on the internet and party and all that. But anyway, it's an unnamed series, but it will have 10 half-hour episodes, and he's slated to direct and produce the rest. So the only thing we know, series on Apple TV, thriller series, and that's about it, and 10 episodes. So it could be aliens coming back. It could be more dead people with little kids seeing them. So, I don't know. But we'll see. We'll check that out. And finally, in movie news, it was announced this week that Steve Martin and Martin Short will be launching a Netflix comedy special, working together on that, and putting it together to feature a national tour. So, there you go. I'm sold on that.
We should get Chevy Chase in it and call it the Three Amigos Tour.
That's where I was going with that. Thank you very much.
We're nerds.
Just missing Chevy Chase.
No.
They just don't want to work.
That's all
with
they're
anymore,
missing.
So.
You just killed the singing bush. You're supposed to fire up.
I'd like to think that Hollywood has a brain because somebody has suggested let's remake the Three Amigos, and they have shot that idea. Yeah, there's no way that would ever be a good idea. But then again, I think most people.
Because they pull like 3 rejects from the current Saturday Night Live cast, and it would just be awful.
Right. But then again, I think most people thought, they'll never redo the Heathers.
No.
Here we are. I know.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's pretty much what's going on this week in nerd news. A couple of quick reviews for you of movies that have come out this week. The first one being Red Sparrow. And since I did the review on it, I won't give everything away, but I know Brendan because we both like the same movies when it comes to espionage, and we grew up on the same things. And I know, pretty much know Julie and what she likes, and of course Alex. I can tell you that this movie is. I'll put it to you this way: if you want to go see it, it's a good movie to go see with free movie tickets. But if you are a fan of the spy genre at all, it's not really that good compared to other spy movies.
Now, is it really, because it looks like a Black Widow origin story, is it really along those lines, or is it?
No, but a friend of our show who's done reviews for us before actually made that joke when he took his girlfriend to go to the theater. It's like, and I will give Chase Lee of the Real Podcast a shout out on our show as saying, it's pretty ballsy of Marvel to release a Black Widow origin story before we knew anything about it. So,
yeah. To me, it sounds like that Red Sparrow is to Atomic Blonde as the Man from U.N.C.L.E. is to James Bond.
Yeah. You know what? That's a great analogy, and that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it isn't intriguing. Jennifer Lawrence was pretty good in it. But to me, it just couldn't decide what time period it wanted to be in. Did it want to be a modern spy thriller, or did it want to be a Cold War spy thriller? because it had this feel of like I was watching The Americans on FX. With how they did things and the teaching the art of seduction, but then again, it seems like a modern day. We hack computers all the time, cyber warfare, false identities, bank accounts, blah 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 blah. And everybody has an iPhone and crap like that. And I think the other problem is you cram a lot into 2 hours when this story probably would have been best served as a miniseries or really, just doing a 10-episode season on HBO. One of my main issues, in this film is, when she gets sent to the Sparrow school, she has 3 months of training, and apparently is ready for an assignment and is a super spy now. And I'm like, really? 3 months of training? So she got the.
So you went
training.
to Navy boot camp?
Yeah, really. It's like it took longer than 3 months to make Rambo, so come on. This is years of training. And it has a nice little twist at the end, but there's just nothing special. And I would tell people, if you love spy movies, there's plenty of great spy movies out there. The Night Manager miniseries that they just had last year was really good, and pretty much any movie based off a John le Carre novel. So, and it was funny because I got home after the screening, and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy was on cable, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, there you go, a real spy movie. So, but it's adequate. It's a 6 out of 10 at best. The other thing that came out this week, and I think a lot of people actually didn't know this was happening, but yes, they did do a remake of the movie Death Wish, starring Bruce Willis. And I know. So the only thing, here's the best description of it. What if John McClane was retired and you harmed one of his family members? What would he do? Or better known as Die Hard 6. That's what it was. I love Eli Roth as a director. He was great in Inglourious Bastards, and I understand, why he, has directed this movie, and I think he did a good job for what it is. But first, you can't remake Death Wish and still have the same magic as the original with Charles Bronson. You just can't.
You just can't.
And
well, it's a movie from a different era too. It's a movie at a time.
Right.
Yeah. And there is no Charles Bronson equivalent right now. There's nobody that's Charles Bronson.
No.
I mean, if you look at Hollywood, even in a cross section, you won't find one.
Right. I feel like I hate to say this, but I feel like Bruce Willis was miscast in this because he was a mixture of, at moments he was trying to be John McClane, then at other times he was trying to be David from the movie Unbreakable, real quiet and serious and trying to figure out what he was going to do. And, and then they just, again, kind of crammed a lot into the movie. If you watch the original, there's this really great pacing as he is exploring the dark city streets of New York, that makes it a 2 hour. And the investigation part, them taking their time with it, and it just didn't do anything because really all you have is an older Bruce Willis going out and killing people. And again, just make Die Hard 6 and get it over with.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have liked this movie a lot more if Bruce Willis hadn't been Paul Kersey. I kept thinking to myself, you know what? Bryan Cranston would have actually been great in this. And part of it was the guy who played his brother-in-law in Breaking Bad was the cop. And I'm like, see, just have Eisenberg do it and get it over with. But, Brendan and I, The Infiltrator, we went and did that screening about a year and a half ago, and we both walked out of it like, wow, he was great in it. I mean, really good.
Yeah.
And if you look at him in that movie, I was like, why wouldn't this work for a Death Wish remake? He would have been fantastic. So, if people want to go see this, go see a matinee. That's fine. I mean, there's some nice moments and
wait till it hits a dollar theater.
Right. I mean, but no. You're never going to be able to replace the original and the feel of that. Even if you are dealing with gangs in the violent streets of Chicago. But
you know what? This is the worst part about this movie. Is it portends the fact that they're working towards a Dirty Harry remake. Like, I guarantee you, as soon as Clint Eastwood dies, they're going to do Dirty Harry.
No, they've already... Warner Brothers, announced a while back that they wanted to do reboots of Dirty Harry and Lethal Weapon and stuff. Oh, yeah.
God damn
That's been... I know.
Well, they already did Lethal Weapon on TV, so...
Well, I say this. If you're going to redo Dirty Harry, you have to get John Milius to basically do the screenplay again. If you don't, you're just fuck you. That's all I can say. Because that movie doesn't work without John Milius' fingerprint on the screenplay.
Yeah.
So,
why can't they remake something like Lobster Man from Mars? Why does it always have to be something like this? I don't understand.
Well, sci-fi is eventually gonna the Sharknado train is eventually gonna fall over. It's gonna get off the tracks, and sci-fi is gonna need something new. So you should pitch that to them.
That's my pitch. Tony Curtis had such a small role; it would be easy to replace him. It would be a really great movie to make. If they do it in the future, I want 10%. This is my proof that was my idea.
Exactly. It's on the air. We have a record of it.
That's right.
But there's that 10% of your 10% that goes to that nerd show because you're on our network.
That's fair.
Finally.
Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, those are the two big movies this week. Just really nothing special. And real quick, this leads into the Nerd Oscars. We were just going to make more fun of the Heathers reboot that was unnecessary, but we'll have plenty of time to keep making fun of that. When we were voting this week and everybody was casting their votes, I have to admit I didn't think it was going to be this hard with everybody's take on stuff, but we actually had a 4-way tie on Best Picture. And Brendan had to be the deciding vote on it. Now, we're not telling you what Best Picture is until the end of this podcast, but everybody had their own little take on what is the best nerd movie of the year. And I just was like, I thought some of these choices were just kind of obvious, but apparently not. So, and we do want to say that for you Alien fans out there, Alex was the lone vote on Alien Covenant for Best Picture. I didn't think it'd get a vote, but Alex gave it some love. I mean, it was a good movie. Don't get me wrong, but anyway. So yeah, when lesson learned among the Nerd Show staff. Too many different opinions and are in debates and all that. And when we do the Nerd Oscars, it leads to a 4-way tie. Having to have one deciding vote. So that's this week's Sound of the Apocalypse. And with further ado, let's get to the Nerd Oscars. So for those of you that don't know what these are, if you're listening, instead of talking about the real Oscars, which are probably going to be boring, and we all know what's going to win Best Picture, 3 Billboards of Ebbing, Missouri, but I usually trust Alex because he tends to pick which ones are going to be at. He's been right over the first few years, so we defer to Alex more on this. Anyway, we decided to have all the nerdy movies that we love every year and put them into Oscar categories and vote on what are the best nerd movies of every year. The what you should see, what's enjoyable, what's like but gets a nomination. So we feel like the Nerd Oscars are much more important than the real Oscars, which
it's the Oscars for the movies we actually care about.
Exactly. Because half the time the real Oscars don't even get it right. So, but then again, there's going to be some debate on whether we got it right with the Nerd Oscars, and we're okay with that. So, but anyway, like the Oscars, we will start with the bottom category first, and the first category is Best Original Song. And the nominees this year, if you did not read the list, was This Is It, Greatest Showman, To Be Human, with To Be Human from Wonder Woman, Beauty and the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, and Patty Cakes from that indie film, the little rap song from Patty Cakes. And, of course, the winner is, which there wasn't really much debate on this. But anyway, the winner is This Is Me from The Greatest Showman in this category. Yeah. So for you fans of The Greatest Showman that have been singing this movie, it has won a Nerd Oscar. But it was kind of close to Be Human. I think pretty much everybody picked either To Be Human or This Is Me. So I think, Alex, you had the lone vote on Beauty and the Beast, or maybe somebody else did.
It was more by default than anything else.
Well, no,
well,
I get it.
I couldn't vote for Beauty and the Beast because it's not an original song.
Well, I think
it's been done many times.
Well, true,
Song is
but
top, okay.
Okay, fair enough. But at the same time, the way they remixed it and all that's original, and I think that's why it was in our category. So it was a nice.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, I agree. I'd rather have Jerry Orbach, great Broadway actor and Law and Order actor, lead a cast. I agree. I go to the animated version, but it ended up as a nominee. So there you go. But This Is Me, which really was a great ensemble song. And if anybody hasn't seen the behind-the-scenes footage of when they were singing this and doing auditions for it, making Hugh Jackman cry, then I think people should go check that out. All right, the next category, the best indie movie of the year. And the nominees were Brigsby Bear, Lady Bird, Baby Driver, Get Out, and Rememory, which I know nobody's really heard of that, but it was a movie from the Dallas Film Festival, and we interviewed the director and producer, and it starred Peter Dinklage. Anyway, the winner, by a long shot, was Baby Driver. Yeah, I think everybody pretty much agreed Baby Driver was the best indie movie of the year, mostly because of the soundtrack. So.
Although, in retrospect, it is kind of a creepy movie now to watch it, considering Kevin Spacey's relationship with the main character.
Yeah. I'll admit I have not gone back and watched it after all the sex scandals. I mean, I'm going to go back and watch it eventually, but, you kind of like, so.
It's a little weird.
Yeah. What was funny is it was really down to Baby Driver and Get Out. Everybody except me had I vote for either, and I get why Get Out got so many votes by our staff, because it really was. Nobody expected that movie to be any good, and it was just like, wow, okay. Especially because it was done by Jordan Peele. But I will admit I gave the one lone vote to Brigsby Bear, and I thought it was the best indie movie of the year because it had the most heart, and it had Mark Hamill in it, and I think everybody should see it. So, but anyway, Baby Driver's our best indie movie of the year. Okay, getting to the other category, best animated movie. This one is kind of a debate. I didn't think it would be that much of a debate, but and last night I was at the pub, and Adam and Brendan's friends of ours, Adam and Sam, we were talking about this, and Sam kind of looked at me wrong when I told her what the winner was going to be. But it was down to Coco and Lego Batman. And Lego Batman is the winner. I'm just announcing that right now. Lego Batman is the winner.
And rightfully
However,
so.
Yes. I've noticed this trend that if you have kids, then Coco should be the winner. And I still have not
I'm the exception that proves the rule, apparently, because I don't have kids and I voted for Coco.
Yeah. But I've noticed that most, were on that compared to everybody, who loves Lego Batman.
Yeah.
So it was basically, it was like one vote ahead, so to speak. That's how Lego Batman won. But yeah, it was just this great divide between these two movies. Nobody cared about the Emoji Movie, which was nominated, or Ferdinand.
And nobody should care about the Emoji Movie.
Yeah.
That was
nobody should have made the
piece
Emoji
of
Movie.
emoji poop.
Yeah. It looked like it was a movie done by millennials who can't speak proper English and only can do stuff through emojis. So, but anyway, Lego Batman is the best. Yeah. So, all right, now we get to the real categories. Just hold your horses, Julie. We're getting to the category where you're going to scold me. Wait for it.
I'm on the edge of
actually,
my seat.
Okay, all right. But I get to go first before you. I'm just, all right. So, Best Supporting Actress. We had Carrie Fisher from The Last Jedi. We had Annabelle Wallis from The Mummy. You also might know her from Peaky Blinders, if you watched that. Amy Adams, Justice League. Allison Janney from I, Tonya. Lucy Davis from Wonder Woman. Sophie Lillis from It. And Laura Haddock from Transformers The Last Night, which was one of the only good parts of that movie, because she's good looking. And Octavia, I don't know why I can't say it. Octavia Spencer from The Shape of Water. There was not much debate on this category, I will tell you. Carrie Fisher is our winner by a landslide. We pretty much all voted for her. There were one or two votes for like Allison Janney and Octavia Spencer, but yeah, Carrie Fisher pretty much won this out, and rightfully so, because she is our princess, and she was fantastic in The Last Jedi. I know it wasn't the movie she was supposed to be prominent in, but I mean, she was great, and it's Carrie Fisher, right?
Yep. Look, they're all fine actresses, but yeah, I wasn't voting for anybody else. Really, I went straight to that category, made sure you put her on there, and then voted for her, and really didn't even bother with the rest of the list.
Right. Yeah,
I can't say that about much of anybody else in The Last Jedi, but for Carrie Fisher, yeah.
Yeah, I like how I'm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of. Every one of them are fine actors. I loved Sophia Lillis as, Beverly from It. She, is going to be an incredible star one day, and that movie was really good. And, of course, Octavia Spencer is great. If you don't think she's great, I'll give you two movies. One, The Help, and one that came out last year called Gifted. So, and pretty much anything else that she's done.
Is she really that good in The Shape of Water, though?
I think she's great in everything. I liked her. I think she ends up in this category because it's her and because it's that movie. But
right.
I think Michael Shannon and Sally Hawkins definitely overshadow her. Also she was really great in. I can't remember the name of the movie now. The NASA, the Space Girls, the African Americans that worked at NASA.
Yeah. Something Figures.
Hidden Figures. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Which was a great movie, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think anybody... Allison Janney will probably get the real Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in I, Tonya.
She's a lock.
Yeah.
She's a lock.
She was so freaking hysterical in that movie. But, we have to throw her in because it's I, Tonya, and we're all old enough to remember that controversy. I mean, how it all really happened and watching it on TV, and the fact that there was a controversy in figure skating, which should never happen. But that movie really was it was a fantastic movie the way they did it, blending this kind of myth and just comedic, stance on everything. Because at this point, all you could do was just laugh at how stupid everybody was. So,
and for anybody who hasn't seen the 30 for 30 Price of Gold, please watch it if you get the chance, because it leads even more credibility to the way they made this film.
Oh yeah. Well, they made the film basically. It was based off of interviews with Tonya Harding and Jeff Galooey and the dumbass who thought he was a special agent who orchestrated everything.
And that guy almost stole the show. He's that good too.
He really did. He really did. I think my favorite scene is as the FBI comes knocking, and he's like, you know, people know him especially. Then he's yelling at his mom, "Mom, did you tape over Star Trek?" So anyway, yeah, that was one of my hidden movies of last year. I had to go see it twice because I was just falling out of the seat laughing throughout the first time I saw it. So, but like I said, Carrie Fisher, very deserving of Best Supporting Actress in the Nerd Oscars because it's Carrie Fisher. I want to share this story, excuse me, in relation to women and empowerment and all this. If you, this came out last year when all the Me Too stuff happened. This is probably the best story of how to deal with sexual harassment in Hollywood. And we may have talked about it before, but I'm going to mention it again. So the story goes that one of her assistants was being harassed by some big-name Hollywood producer. They didn't mention the name to keep his anonymity, but her response was she went and got a cow's tongue and gift-wrapped it and went to his office and delivered it to him. And when he opened it, she told him that if he ever did it again, he would get another gift, but something much smaller of his would be in the box. And then walked out. Yeah.
Perfect.
Exactly. And apparently the assistant never got harassed again. So there you go.
Did she play the Dick in the Box song from Saturday Night Live?
That's what should have played when he opened the box.
It's stories like that about why she's our princess. You know, just didn't take any shit off anybody. All right, getting to the next big category, Best Supporting Actor. The nominees were Oscar Isaac from The Last Jedi, Harrison Ford from Blade Runner 2049, Ben Affleck from Justice League, Robert Downey Jr. from Spider-Man Homecoming, Daniel Craig from Logan Lucky, Matthew McConaughey from The Dark Tower, because he was actually good despite the movie being bad, Adam Driver from The Last Jedi, and Patrick Stewart from Logan. And this was another one of those categories that really had not much of a debate. Patrick Stewart from Logan, Best Supporting Actor in the Nerd Oscars. So,
well,
yeah,
he's probably the best pure actor of the bunch. So, I mean, you know, obviously, you know, Harrison Ford's made more money than God acting, but you know, I mean, the Royal Shakespeare Academy, the list goes on and on. You know, he was in Dune, for Christ's sake, and he looks the same now than he did when he was in Dune. So, it's it's just awesome.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can deny that. But at the same time, I mean, Logan was an incredible movie. And I'll put it to you how incredible it was. Chloe James did the review on it. Her and I went to go see the screening, and I always laugh at her headlines. Like when she did the review on Ghost in the Shell, you know, Ghost Shell, How I Learned to Love This Animated Movie. You know, a takeoff of Doctor Strangelove, which I thought was funny. But she did, the title for the review on Logan was The Wolverine Movie We've Always Wanted and Deserved. That was it. And it was like, what else do you need to know? You don't even need to read the review. It's the best review. Just a few words.
That movie was so great, I paid to go see it in the theater 3 times.
Really? All right.
That's impressive. Full price ticket. Yeah.
I like how you said you paid for it. You didn't just like sit there in the theater once the first screening was done. Well, I'm going to watch it again. I'm going to be here all day for constant runnings of Logan. And I agree with you. I loved every minute of it. It was sad. It was tragic, but it was a great end. And Patrick Stewart was hilarious. As you know, kind of the
little girl is
going,
amazing too.
Oh yeah. I hope we definitely see her again. I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways that Logan probably was the best superhero film of the year. Not that other ones weren't enjoyed, but just a great way to round out that story and X-Men and kind of go into, you know, the next generation and stuff. And if I'll admit, I almost shed a tear at the very end when the little girl turned over the cross and made an X on his grave. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think anybody can really argue with Patrick Stewart deserving of this Oscar. Like I said, he was just fantastic in it. So, all right. Now we get to the Best Actress category. So, I'm going to go ahead and let everybody know. Okay, I'm going to let everybody know. Yes, I was the tiebreaker on this. I freely admit. So if there's any controversy, feel free to email me, Marcus@thatnerdshow, or just yell at me at Facebook that I'm wrong. But let me explain who was in this category. Daisy Ridley from The Last Jedi, Charlize Theron from Atomic Blonde, Tessa Thompson from Thor Ragnarok, Margot Robbie from I, Tonya, Gal Gadot from Wonder Woman, Sally Hawkins from The Shape of Water, and Catherine Waterston from Alien Covenant, and Emma Watson from Beauty and the Beast. So we did have, like I said, it was very, very close. But Gal Gadot from Wonder Woman is the winner. And I will tell you why I gave it to her as the tiebreaker. But I'll start it off with a question. Can we all agree that Charlize Theron can do no wrong? She's just awesome at anything she does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why I voted for her.
Yeah. Okay.
Me too.
All right. Yeah, I know. All right. And I realize that. And I agree. And I think Atomic Blonde was a fun movie. I think she was fantastic in it. But we already know she's fantastic. It's kind of like it's a foregone conclusion and stuff. And there's a part of me that wishes this movie hadn't come out last year, but is coming out this year for the Nerd Oscars. So, there's not much like competition. But I feel like the reason Gal Gadot deserves this category is, despite criticisms of Wonder Woman, and there'll be a great article at some point with Julie about women empowerment and all that, and we've had these discussions about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were all surprised by how good she was. With all the crap that has been happening. Okay. With all the crap that has happened in the DC Cinematic Universe, kind of going into this movie like, they're probably going to ruin it. It's not going to be that good. And then it helped rescuing DC, and then her being, kind of balancing out the Justice League movie as well. I think she deserves it. I think in any other year, if if Charlize Theron had been in a movie or whatever, then she easily wins it because she's Charlize Theron and she is that good. But I think it's the freshness of Gal Gadot being in this movie, the movie itself being in Justice League, and just kind of wowing everybody by how good she really was. Even if you disagree. And if there's one reoccurring thing that I try to hold to, with that nerd show, and we had this big debate when it came to games last year, because it was a big debate on whether Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild should be Game of the Year versus, Horizon Zero Dawn. And those of us that voted for Horizon, we were all in agreement. It was unique, it was fresh, it was something we hadn't seen before, it was surprising. And that, for me, at the end of the day, will always supersede that which we already know. So that's my reasoning for why she deserves it. Go ahead and scold me, Julie. I can take it.
Okay, so here's the thing. Girl crush aside, obviously, Charlize Theron is my girlfriend. I absolutely love her. She's number one on my list for anything. My boyfriend already knows that in the event we run into her and she wants me to do anything for her, it's going to happen. And if I lose him in the process, I'm really sorry. But that's just the relationship that she and I have.
I don't think you'd lose him. I think that'd just be bragging rights. It'll be like, hey, man.
Exactly.
But all of that aside, all of those things in a jar put aside, just looking at the Best Actress category, looking at actors in general, when I try to assess one actor that's better than the other, for me, it really relies on how well they encompass the character and the suspension of disbelief. And when it came to those two actresses together, I really feel like Charlize Theron is the better actor. And the reason being, if I were to put Atomic Blonde on mute, I would still know her emotions and what was going on in the movie just by looking at her. Of course, it would be equally as amazing to me because I'm looking at Charlize Theron, and really, how can you go wrong with that? But
very true.
I feel like watching Wonder Woman and looking at Gal Gadot, it's really hard to say that she's a great actress because so many of her looks are the same regardless of the emotion or regardless of what's going on in the movie. And you can cover it up by saying, oh, well, she's a fish out of water character and she's in a new place. Of course, she always looks confused. But if you've seen her in other movies, then you know that's kind of just how she tends to look in a lot of different scenes. And I feel like a lot of people just give her more leeway because she's beautiful. And, I mean, I don't find her as attractive as many people do, but I will not deny the fact that she is beautiful. And I think that if you're looking at actors, if you're comparing actors, you kind of want to put all the social things aside and the expectations aside and assess their actual capabilities. And purely on that basis, that's why I voted for Charlie. The fact that I'm hoping that she'll hear this and hit on me or maybe reach out and, you know, like want to do things is aside. You know, if she does hear it, hey, Charlie, I voted for you, and I think you're the most amazing thing in the world. These guys obviously don't, you know, feel the same way that I do. But
speak for yourself.
Well,
but I'm the one that loves you the most.
Because I fell for her going all the way back to 2 Days in the Valley. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, me too. I fell for her going all the way back to That Thing You Do, and I mean, like Devil's Advocate, and I mean, she was just amazing back then.
I will say this. I don't necessarily disagree with anything you have said. I get that.
Because I'm right.
Right. But I do disagree with the fact that you think that Gal Gadot is kind of like a one-trick pony and her, you know, looks are all the same or whatever. There's a certain innocence about her that I think lends to her being a great Wonder Woman in this film. But if you really watch the Fast and Furious movies, she is all confidence, and maybe she looks a little bit the same, but it's different mannerisms in the way that she looks and stuff like that. So I think that there is a difference, and she does have some good actability, and it's just like I said, any other year, I think Charlize Theron would have absolutely nailed it, and we're not arguing. But I think because of Wonder Woman and its time and place and how much we loved it and stuff, that's my reasoning. So.
For me, the only difference was the only difference for me was Wonder Woman. I think was a better film. It was greater than the sum of its parts than Atomic Blonde. But I think that Charlize Theron carried Atomic Blonde. If it wasn't for her, the whole movie doesn't work. So that's why I went with it. But let's move on.
Sure.
And that's fair.
Okay.
I mean, I'm probably the only person that really thinks that Atomic Blonde was better.
Right. All right. So moving on to Best Actor. We have Mark Hamill, Star Wars, Ryan Gosling, Blade Runner 2049, Chris Hemsworth from Thor, Tom Holland, Spider-Man Homecoming, Chris Pine, Wonder Woman, Idris Elba, The Dark Tower. He was actually good despite it being a bad movie. Michael Fassbender, Alien Covenant, Hugh Jackman, Logan. The winner is Tom Holland, Spider-Man Homecoming, which I was a little surprised by. And I loved him, but we had a lot of votes for him. So... that's
I got to admit I was surprised by that too.
But then again, I mean, we did love the movie, and he was very good at it. So
I think he's like the next. He's like the next Christian Bale. I think he's got a really bright future ahead. But to me, I feel like Michael Fassbender, that role was more difficult because he had to kind of play like two characters. So
right. No, and I agree. I think there's just a certain innocence and comedic, timing with Spider-Man, and it was very refreshing because there was a lot of controversy with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, and so. But anyway, the votes are in, and Tom Holland won, and there you go. But I think everybody in this category did really good jobs with their roles. So it. It was kind of one of the harder characters. Like I said, everybody did a great job. So, all right, the best director: Rian Johnson, Star Wars; Denis Villeneuve from Blade Runner 2049; Taika Waititi from Thor; John Watts, Spider-Man: Homecoming; Patty Jenkins, Wonder Woman; James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy; Ridley Scott, Alien Covenant; and Guillermo del Toro for Shape of Water. Guillermo del Toro for Shape of Water wins hands down. So it was a little close for a little bit between him and Patty Jenkins, but there was kind of a landslide in the end with del Toro. So, and rightly so. I mean, Shape of Water it's a very beautiful movie, and if you love Pan's Labyrinth, then you'll love this movie. So, all right, now we get to the big category, the Best Picture. So, Star Wars: Last Jedi, Blade Runner 2049, Justice League, Thor, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Wonder Woman, Guardians of the Galaxy, Alien Covenant, The Shape of Water, and Logan. And like I said, we had a 4-way tie until Brendan decided this, between Logan, Shape of Water, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and Blade Runner 2049. But the winner is Blade Runner 2049. I was very surprised by the 4-way tie, but I also get it. And I honestly thought it would really come down to Blade Runner 2049, in The Shape of Water and Logan. I didn't expect Guardians of the Galaxy 2 to kind of be in that running, but at the same time, I think it was kind of hard picking, these movies. And I think at least with The Shape of Water, Logan, and Blade Runner 2049, either one of them can easily be Best Picture. But for me, the reason Blade Runner 2049 stands out is not only being a fan of the original Blade Runner, I thought this was a great addition, especially being set 30 years. Everything was fantastic. And I tried to pick it apart in a review, and at the end of the day, just gave it a perfect 10 because the pacing, the mystery, just everything about it, the visual effects was fantastic. And kind of giving you that mystery about, the child that was born, by replicants, and even leading more to the debate of whether Harrison Ford really, and Decker was a replicant and all that. This movie, the sci-fi movie, was so beautiful that I have watched it many times and never get old, and it never gets old. Go ahead,
for me, it came down to Logan or Blade Runner 2049. I couldn't vote for anything for Shape of Water just because there's a pending lawsuit for plagiarism against it.
Sure.
For me, until that's settled, I can't give that movie any credit. And if it comes out that there is no plagiarism, great. But so the reason why I went with 2049 over Logan is just because, in my heart, I'm more of a sci-fi guy than a comics guy. I love comics, but I started on sci-fi and science fantasy, and so if you take that and then you take the fact that when you have these movies that have 20, 30-year gaps in them, inevitably they fall short of your expectations.
Sure.
Whether it's Star Wars or, Star Trek or any movie that's had huge gaps between, any franchise that has huge gaps between films. Even Trainspotting, the one, it's 20 years in the making. While it was a very good film, it wasn't the original. So Blade Runner 2049, I just thought exceeded my expectations. And maybe that's because so many of these other franchises, failed to meet expectations. But this one, really exceeded my expectations. I thought it was an awesome film, and because of that, I expected Logan to be good, and it was good. But I really wasn't sure about Blade Runner 2049, and it blew my expectations out of the water, so that's why I chose that.
Yeah. I agree with that. Now I know you being the Blade Runner fan that you are, Alex. Do you feel like this exceeded your expectations?
A little
Alex?
bit, maybe not as much as what you and Brendan are saying, but to a degree, I certainly think it did. I tried to stay neutral on these kind of things, and so it was kind of the same thing with the new Blade Runner film. And I was glad that it was as good as it was, but kind of along the same line with Brendan, though, that was kind of what Alien Covenant was for me. It went so beyond what I thought it would be.
Hey,
so
Alex, speak up just a little bit more. Hey, Alex.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, we're losing you. Can you put your mouth closer to your microphone?
Okay. Is that better?
No, we're still losing you. Yeah.
Okay. What about now?
Yeah, that's way better.
Hello?
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
I was glad that Blade Runner was as good as it was, but to me, kind of like along the lines of what Brendan was saying about Blade Runner, that's what Alien Covenant was for me. It kind of was way beyond what I was expecting for that movie. So
right. Well, I just, like Brendan said, it's so hard to expect a really good movie when you have this 30-year gap and, to tell a story. And I think part of what also helped was they did these 3 little short films to kind of bring you up to date of what had happened over 30 years with the Tyrell Corporation and where they were at and, why society was so fearful of replicants, especially if, they could have children, which is kind of the premise of this movie. Everything that we argue about with artificial intelligence and, technology surpassing humanity and stuff, fits within this, movie. And it really, really felt like the original Blade Runner movie in so many ways. Again, just the pacing of it, and it's one of my favorite Ryan Gosling movies now. He was so great in it, and him and Harrison Ford playing off each other. But and I almost feel like, well, you've done this. Now you got to round it out. You've got to do a third movie to complete the trilogy to see where this really goes, especially with what they revealed in it. But it's when you get great movies like this that exceed your expectations, I think they are worthy of awards. So, and that's as much as I love The Last Jedi. I'm like, The Last Jedi wasn't perfect, and I still have some minor problems with it. This one, I didn't. And that's why, for me, at the end of the day, it was Best Picture. But I agree with you, Brendan. Logan, we knew it was going to be good. And it was. And in any other year, it probably would have been Best Picture. So that's the problem when you have so many great movies that go up against each other, that it's hard to choose.
It was a great year for movies.
Yeah, it really was. Just like it was a great year for video games. And, this year, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be the same, or we're in a year we're going to be arguing over the same thing. It's going to be that as hard to choose. Because, like right now, I feel like Deadpool or Marvel, Avengers Infinity Wars either, is going to be like Best Picture. So, but there you have it.
They have so many
everybody.
other great movies that are slated to come out too. Like the new Jurassic World movie and
we'll
all of these other sequels too.
Right. But there you have it, everybody. Our Nerd Oscars, and we'll be publishing the article online so you can read the full list of winners and also check out this podcast. And yes, we will still have plenty of debates about, Gal Gadot versus Charlize Theron and strong actresses and all that. And that will be for a future podcast where we really talk about great actresses and what they bring later on down the road. Where, again, Julie Jones can set us all straight and tell us how it should be.
That's right. If the world,
good.
If the world was just the way I said it should be, everything would be fine.
Oh, okay, good.
You sound so much like my wife.
Now get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich.
Wait. Yeah, are we sure? Okay. Aaron's not texting you, Julie, like telling you what to say? So Brendan can hear it both ways? Anyway. Everybody, we'll be we will be back next week with another podcast. Thank you for listening, and let us know what you think of the Nerd Oscars. We are out of here. Have a great weekend. Say goodbye, everybody.
Drink more beer.
Goodbye, everybody.
Hello.